Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Digital Badging, Empowering Talent and with Skills Certification panel. We are excited to be here today to share more about BRIC's Digital Badging program. With us are two very fun and important people. I guess I should introduce myself. My name is Dr. Darlene Mortel-Edouard. I'm the Washington Programs and Operations Manager, and I help to oversee our digital badging program. So before we begin and get into the weeds of what digital badging is, I want to introduce my panelists to introduce themselves. So Allison, why don't we go to you first, just to give a quick intro.
All right. My name is Allison Mann. I'm co-founder of the BRIC Foundation. Have been in the animation industry for over 20 years. I started off as an artist and I was a creative recruiter, then a development executive, and now I'm a rep. So I rep writers and directors and visual storytellers in the animation and live action industry.
Awesome. And we'll go to
Jacques.
you, Jack.
Hi, I'm Jack Mitchell. I'm now with the BRIC Foundation. Previously, I was a teacher in Los Angeles Unified for 22 years. I taught theater and stagecraft or live event design. And then I went to the California Department of Education, and I worked there from 2007 to 2020, and really got to see the sort of advent of arts, media, and entertainment industry sector. In 2020, I retired and passed that baton to Allison Frenzel, and she took off running 90 miles an hour. Since then, I've been doing some consulting, but basically I work in the space that is education in the career tech ed, arts, media, entertainment area, and also K-12 and post-secondary. So now I'm with BRIC Foundation and working as a pre-apprenticeship with pre-apprenticeship programs, and really excited about digital badges. I'll talk more about that.
Awesome. So just a really brief rundown on BRIC's digital badging program. So BRIC Digital Badges are industry recognized skills certification that show off your verified abilities to prospective employers, recruiters, and the world over. They are reviewed and awarded by industry recruiters. So our digital badges are a credible way to communicate your industry-ready skills on your resume, on professional sites like LinkedIn or your own website, helping you to stand out as a job applicant. They're made for those seeking careers in animation, gaming, visual effects. The BRIC Digital Badges, I have had too much coffee this morning. BRIC Digital Badges prove to potential employers that you have the skills to be successful in the workplace. So far, we have 15 badges available. One is still in development. Budget and scheduling is almost done. And they help show your certification, and our badges are anything. We have 15 badges, anywhere from understanding industry roles and pipelines to character and design and posing to game design and writing and storytelling. So we have our badges run the gamut. And we have 10 pre-apprenticeship badges, which I will toss to Jack later on to talk about. But before we go deeper into discussing BRIC's digital badge program, I want to turn to Allison to talk about why were they created? Where did the badges come from?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned earlier, but I was a recruiter for a really long time. And, I think this is a way to have a little bit more agency, and also for the recruiters to flag, especially if you are getting your education in a different direction, or if you're pivoting careers or whatever it is, you're upskilling yourself in a specific discipline and you want that extra stamp of approval. You have professionals that will look at your portfolios, that will be able to give you some advice if we feel like it's not industry ready yet, but to have that extra stamp of approval. So if I was a recruiter, like looking at these portfolios, and I knew that somebody on the back end gave a stamp of approval for, say you want to be a character designer and you've been working really hard at that, and somebody in our industry reviewed it and said, oh my God, this person's industry ready to go, brilliant. And I saw that little badge, that would give me like, okay, great. Like, they've done the work, and it's an ability for the recruiters to do one less step in their brain, which is a lot of mental gymnastics. When you are a recruiter, you're balancing a lot. So having that peace of mind, I think is really great. And then I think on the side of when you are trying to get the digital badge, I think you have accessibility for feedback. So while you may not get that badge right away, you will get it like a benchmark of what you need to do to become industry ready. And maybe you weren't aware. So the people that are reviewing the portfolios, giving out the badges, they're all professionals. They've all been in the industry. They all look at portfolios very frequently. They know what to look for. They have that broad scope. And so they're very confident in saying, like, here, you need to do X, Y, and Z. Once you do that, come back, let's review again. So I think it's kind of another way to build up your portfolio, connect to the industry, and have accessibility in ways if you didn't go like the traditional means of going to college. But even if you did go to college, again, this could give you kind of, if you're going for something a bit more specific.
That's awesome. So like I was mentioning, we offer 15 badges. How did you all decide what badges to make?
I think what we were doing is we were looking at what are the the most transferable across, like what are those anchor positions across feature, animation, TV, animation, gaming, like, so it's a little bit more streamlined on that end. And then it also relates to what's being taught in the education system. So we wanted to make sure that it was aligned with CTE. Yeah, and Jack can talk to this and jump in as well. But we wanted to make sure the pathways and the badges all aligned. So between the recruiters defining like what roles, what disciplines are really important, what were the ones we wanted to focus on, and then in parallel, making sure that those were reflected into kind of the education and the things that we're supporting on in that world. Jack, what do you got on that end?
Yeah, it's a good transition to get Jack into this conversation.
Well, I mentioned earlier, I'm super excited about the whole concept of digital badges, because when I was at the California Department of Education, one of the major issues we had was that a lot of the funding sources that come from the federal government, but also from state government, require that students have an opportunity to be certified in the area that they're studying. And in plumbing, there are certifications. In welding, there are certifications. In arts, media, and entertainment, there really were not many certifications. There were product-based certifications like, Adobe software and things like that. But there were no certifications relative to pathways into specific careers. And so these badges are really an important certification tool for teachers to use in a lot of different ways. First of all, they meet the qualification of having a certification available to all students. But they also, because of the way they're designed and because they were designed by industry and not necessarily designed by educators, they are very authentic to what industry is looking for. And so if you are if you are trying to get your kids ready for a particular job or a particular career pathway, if you have a digital badge that has guidelines to what the requirements are to gain access to work in that particular career area, that can guide your curriculum. So I wasn't teaching this. I need to be sure I'm teaching this. And so that the certification piece is really important, but they also can serve as a way of job exploration. If you have students who are trying to create a career path for themselves, they can take a look at these digital badges and it tells you sort of what does someone in this area do? What are the skills that this person has to have? What are the industry? And then the badge that deals with pipeline and stuff is really a much more broad scope badge that deals with the whole industry. How do you get to know what's happening across industry jobs? So there are a lot of different opportunities for educators. And so the pre-apprenticeship programs, I think, can make great use of these.
So this is for both of you. What is the difference between a pre-apprenticeship badge and the digital badge, the other digital badge? Because we have two sets.
Go ahead, Jack.
Okay, primarily the difference is, well, there are two basic differences. The first is the submissions. If you are applying for a digital badge as a professional, you have to have, I think, 3 to 5 submissions. But at the pre-apprenticeship level, you have fewer submissions, and so where they may want 2 or 3 portfolio components, at the pre-apprenticeship level, there may only be 1. And then on the evaluation side, once that pre-apprenticeship badge goes to an evaluator, they are looking at the badge from the perspective of someone who is getting ready to enter the career, not as someone who is fully functioning and needs the badge to show that they have achieved another step in their career.
And go ahead, Allison, sorry.
No, and I was just saying, I think it's such a wonderful way. It's like a great 2-stepper, which brings accessibility. I think that's like the name of the game, and also why we do a lot of this work with BRIC is about breaking barriers, bringing accessibility, finding other ways into these pathways, and so this is like something that allows all of those things, and you could already be a professional, or you could just be trying to find your own route, or you could be an educator, and it just gets everybody on the same page too, right? Like we're creating these standards that will be anchored. So there's like a little bit of myth busting. And when I was a student, I was in an art high school, like I wish my teachers were armed with this information. I think knowing my path would have been a lot easier. Having those rubrics and like those checklists would have been like way more efficient. I don't know. I love my career now, but there's like a what if standpoint. Like, what if they had known, would I have pursued being a creative versus a business human on this side of the hill?
Yeah, definitely. I really like that step by step that you were talking about, Allison. I think that's a great way to put it. So if a student submits for a pre-apprenticeship badge, a portfolio for a pre-apprenticeship badge, who reviews those? Is it the same as the ones who review for the industry badge?
Yeah, everyone's reviewing. Yeah, across the board. Some of us are more in it. I'm not going to tell you the who's are more in it. Just in cases, but a lot of it is BRIC driven, and then we have a few anchors that also.
Okay. Awesome. And Jack,
I think it's important also that the reviewers will give you feedback. So it's not just like you turn your submission in and you get it back with an approval stamp, or you get it back with a sorry. They will provide you with some guidance about, we like this, we didn't like this, here's some areas that you can improve in. And a little bit later on, we'll take a look at the actual rubrics themselves, and you can sort of see what the evaluators are using to determine whether or not your students' work or your work is industry ready. The other thing that I think is cool about it is that about the digital badges is that they're available to everyone. And so if you're a teacher who has worked in the industry, you can apply for a digital badge, and you can add that digital badge to your resume. And so you can work on it right alongside your students. And that is always fun for students when they see the teacher doing the same thing they're doing, and, going through the struggles and trying to make the decisions about what do I submit, what don't I submit. And so I think that it really is, as Allison was saying, it sort of provides access to everyone. I mean, everyone is on essentially the same playing field.
And that leads me to my next question, Jack. So, knowing that BRIC is based in California and a lot of this is California-based, as you were mentioning earlier, are the badges available to people outside of California?
Yes, they are. I believe they're international. And Allison can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that if you're an animator in Finland, you can apply for a digital badge. If you're a student in Finland in a career focused program, you can apply for a digital badge. And you don't, in fact, need to be enrolled in a program to apply for a badge. There are a lot of people who are self-taught. There are a lot of people who are homeschooled. There are a lot of people who are learning in alternative ways, and this provides them an opportunity as well to become certified. And the application is by the individual. So your teachers don't apply for the badges for their students. Each individual has their account, whether they're in 10th grade or they're 32, and they submit their work, and the responses come back directly to that person. So in a way, you are entering the world of work when you apply for one of these digital badges.
That's awesome. And you were mentioning a little bit earlier, Jack, about the grading rubrics. Why don't we go ahead and talk about those now? Let me share.
Yeah, so if you go onto the BRIC Foundation website that
Can people
Darlene's
see
going to
this?
share.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You'll go to, I think it's under education, and there's a section that says digital badges. And so there is an FAQ section there that gives you more information and answers some of the questions that you might have. And then we have the badges themselves. And the first set of badges are the badges that are open to industry and pre-apprentices alike. But the next set of badges are the pre-apprenticeship badges. And there are badges in audio and character design, game design, pre-visualization, virtual production, storyboarding, things like that. And as you scroll down, you can click on any of those. So let's click on game design, for example, because I know we have game design people. So it provides you with the requirements for submission. And so this is, again, something that you can use with your students. So you could have an assignment where students do a sample submission, and then you evaluate that submission, because they're going to need practice if they're going to apply for a digital badge. And so not only is this a way of you seeing what industry is looking for, but it also is an opportunity for you to create curriculum or modify curriculum or add to your curriculum a really authentic assignment that they can use. And then at the bottom of each, you can see the viewed grading rubrics. And when you click on that, it shows you the actual rubric that's going to be used by that industry professional or recruiter to evaluate your student submissions, or your submissions if you're submitting for yourself. And so it's a great opportunity to take a look and say, hey, am I teaching these things? Am I actually doing the things that the industry folks are looking for in order to identify my students as career ready? And so, this is another thing that where I teaching, I would go through with my students and say, hey, when you are creating your submission, don't ignore the rubric. Don't just look at what the submission requirements are. Take a look at how it's going to be evaluated and do a little self-reflection before you submit.
That's awesome.
And what is the percent, like in order to pass, I think, what is it?
That is a good question.
You have to get, what is it? Is it 80%?
I think it's 70%.
70%?
Yes.
Wait, did you pass?
Did I pass it?
But
Badges.
you don't have to have 100%.
No, you do not. You definitely don't
pass.
have to have 100%.
And the reason being is, one, art is in the eye of the beholder, and so we're basically looking
Stop
for
sharing
your
now.
knowledge of basic foundation. And also, do you understand those principles? So if it's color, do you, like, if you had to do a color key, do you understand those principles? If you had to do storyboarding? Do you understand cinematography? If you're doing character design, do you understand proportion? So it's like there's certain things that we're looking for in your understanding and your abilities. And this is what's going to happen if you, submit your portfolio in general to a studio. Like these are the things that recruiters and hiring managers, they're all looking for as well. It just kind of gets you a roadmap into kind of the mindset of what the industry is already kind of questioning when reviewing your work.
Awesome.
So no secrets.
No secrets. I want to also make sure we have a little bit of time. I mean, it's a fairly small group, but for anyone who has questions, I could ask all the questions all day long about the program, but wanted to know if there are folks, attendees who had questions.
Can put them in the Q&A.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it possible to get them to just talk? I don't know.
Yeah.
Or they put in the chat?
Yeah, normally it's the Q&A.
Yeah, it's Q&A. They
Perfect.
won't be able to talk since it's webinar. So far there aren't any questions.
Perfect. Thanks.
Well,
I
we
see
have one in the
we
chat,
have-
not in the Q&A, but if you guys can see the chat,
Yeah.
there's a question. Are the
Yes.
badges currently only for K through 12?
Are the badges only for K through 12? That is a good question.
I don't believe so. The badges are evaluated on competency. And so there's nothing that says that someone who is a ninth grader or an eighth grader or can apply for a badge. So in terms of the lower end, below K-12, I mean below 9 through 12, it's not an issue. And then on the above side, anybody can apply.
A lot of it has to do with pre-apprentice, right? The pre-apprentice stuff is more or less for the education side of things.
Right.
The badges themselves, you can be anywhere in your career progression in order to apply for a badge.
You could be just
Yeah,
so-
starting, you could be 10 years in, 20 years in.
Well, and you
15
might
years
be a professional and you just completed a course at Noman or some other school in a particular thing like background animation. And you could apply for that. Wasn't in your skill set before. You took the class. Now you feel competent there. You can submit some of your work that you've done for a digital badge, and then you would get a digital badge that identifies that you actually are aware of this. Now, a question that I have for Allison is: do the people who submit, do they know who is evaluating their badge? Okay, so it's blind evaluation. Okay, I just want
all industry professionals, people that may, whether they're creative leaders themselves or other recruiters, are the ones, and from studios that are reviewing.
And on the website, you can see the people. I mean, there's a section down below where Darlene was scrolling where you can actually see the people who are part of the evaluation team that Allison has put together.
There is a question in the chat. I see it, Chloe. Thank
Okay,
you.
cool.
If you apply and don't get the badge the first time, do you pay the application fee again?
In California, I believe that at least the pre-apprenticeship programs have a free application for 3 badges. And my understanding is that you have a second submission or a resubmission that is free for any badge. I believe that after that, you would have to reapply for the badge. So you can apply for a badge, you make your submission, you get feedback on your submission, and you're told that you need to make improvements. You can make those improvements and resubmit it. If it still doesn't pass, then you would have to reapply for the badge, because obviously you're going to have to do a little bit more work and hone your skills a little bit further.
Yeah, that's a great question. So every badge that is purchased, you get 1 free resubmission. And also to know, like, there is no timeline. So you could take as long as you need to do that resubmission to make sure that your portfolio addresses all of the notes that the recruiter gave, which is great. So you don't have to like rush to get your resubmission in 2 weeks or 30 days. You could take the time you need to do that.
Yes, this does apply to regular badges as well. So that's what we were talking about. So it's basically twice.
Yes.
Jack, I think something that's interesting, I would love for you to talk about other industries that have had these badges and like what you've seen as success stories. Like you've mentioned plumbing, for example.
Right. And in other industry sectors, so in California, there are 15 industry sectors. They used to be the old voc ed areas. If you're as old as I am, you remember vocational education. But in 2005, we shifted to 15 industry sectors. And in some of the industry sectors, there is a lot of inherent certification. So if you're applying in nursing, for example, there is CNA certification that you can get. And so you do the same thing you would do in an arts, media, entertainment class. You study, you submit for the test, you go and apply for the test, and you get certification. In areas like the construction trades, the apprenticeship piece actually began at the Department of Education in construction trades, because construction they're a strong union career area. And so they had apprenticeships, but they had no way to evaluate them. And so they now have these areas of certification. And so for us, the digital badge is a lot like what might be a certification tool for a welder. So you can be certified to do torch welding, or you can be certified to do electronic welding. In arts, media, and entertainment, this is the first time that we have really had any kind of an industry evaluated opportunity for certification. There are some certifications in arts, media, and entertainment that are offered by large groups, like NOCTI is one. But those certifications, the submissions are not evaluated by industry people. They're evaluated by people that NOCTI hires to do evaluation. And they may be an industry person, or they may be an educator, or they may be somebody who has a general knowledge. But all of the BRIC badges are reviewed by people who are working in industry. And so that I think adds a degree of credibility that some of the other badges don't, and certifications don't have.
I mean, I think also what I take and what I also love about this is not like we invented this wheel. Like this is a wheel that has been around for a very long time. We are just mirroring the wheel into our creative industry. And so what is great about that is it's been tried and true. The wheel can turn. It's a circle. It moves. You know what I mean? Like it has success. We know there's been success. So I think we're really excited about translating this opportunity for people into this sector in a world where it hasn't had it before. It gives more eyes and ears into it. I find it fascinating that we are $1 billion industry and we're just now catching up to the accessibility into the arts. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Great question and great answer. So we have another question. Do the badges come with a class? Like, will you be taught to get the badge?
No, there's no class that goes along with it. The badge is an evaluation of where you are. And so where you study, if you study individually, I mentioned earlier that a lot of people are self-taught. I was at a film competition one year, and I was amazed by the students' film. And I said, well, what classes are you taking? And they said, well, I don't take any classes. This is something that I do on my own. And so I'm self-taught. And so with the badges, there's no need to be enrolled in a CTE program or you can be in an art program. Like maybe you're not in a career tech program or a pre-apprenticeship program, but you feel like you have the skills to earn one of the badges based on the criteria you've seen on our website, you can go ahead and apply for that. So no, you don't have to be enrolled in a class to get to earn one of the badges, or to have completed a sequence of courses to apply for one of the badges.
Another question, where would a badge go if you were to put it on a resume?
I think it goes within like almost like either within additional education or under like under education, if you list awards or certifications or something like that, if you want to like under volunteering, like, you know, you have these additional sections.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, I think there's a section for badges that you can put it in. But on your resume, you can create kind of a section for it.
Great. And along with that, would these badges be considered certification?
That sounds like it comes from a teacher, so I'll respond. Yes, as soon as we started exploring digital badging and I got associated with BRIC, I reached out to Allison Frenzel, who, as I mentioned, is the Arts, Media, and Entertainment Consultant at the Department of Education, and said, will the Department of Education consider these certification? And she said, well, certification is approved at the local level. So your district or your county office identifies what qualifies for them as certification. She said, in the eyes of the state, a certification needs to meet a couple of standards. It needs to be, there needs to be representation of work, so it can't just be a description of something. There has to be actual work submitted, and it has to be certified by someone who has deep industry knowledge. And so these meet both of those classifications. So she said, if you submitted it locally for certification and they said it didn't qualify, you could contact me and give me their information. I could reach back to them and say, here are the guidelines the state uses for certification. And based on those certifications, these badges do qualify.
Awesome. Another question from our volunteer. If you had to sum up the value of a digital badge in one sentence or one word, what would it be? This is a fun one.
Have you start, Jack?
I'd say proof of performance. I think it's a way of indicating that someone in industry has looked at your work and said, yes, this person is where they need to be for entry level into our community.
And that, similar to that, I say stamp of approval.
Both very good ones. I don't see any other questions. Oops, there's another message. Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions?
Those are great questions, though. All good
Yeah.
things. But we're really
Yeah.
excited about this program. Please spread the word. I think, you know, the industry is supporting it. The government supports it. So it's kind of a win-win for all of us. It's just about like getting people on board and making sure that, you know, you all know this is available for you and your students.
And the whole concept of apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship in the arts is really brand new. As I mentioned, some of the apprenticeships that exist in construction trades and things like nursing. But in the arts, the idea of having apprentices, while it's not new, it goes back to pre-Da Vinci, but in terms of official Department of Labor apprentices, this is a new concept. This is a new area for them. And so the idea that in this new area, there are certification tools that are created by industry to identify who is and who isn't industry ready is a really important piece of validating apprenticeships in the arts. So I think they're a really important tool in that Department of Labor sort of scope of work also.
Concur.
And the main thing I would just urge all of you to take a look at the website under the pre-apprenticeship badges and just explore, play around, look at look at the things that are available. Because I think one of the first thing I think for your students is that you're going to see some badges in job areas that you didn't really know was a job, like pre-visualization of virtual production. I didn't know what that was. Okay. And so I think that when you're, just going through the badges is going to be a little bit eye-opening, because you're going to find some things that you thought, oh, I didn't realize that people only worked on backgrounds, or I didn't realize that people only worked on props. And so there are a lot of ways that you can use the website besides having your students apply for a digital badge.
Yeah. We had one more question. Do I need a strong portfolio to apply for a badge?
One of the things that I was going to mention that I haven't mentioned yet is that if you're an educator, I'm not sure who's asking this question, but if you're an educator, the badges are really not for your introductory students. They're not for students who are just getting started. They're going to be evaluated and based on the rubrics that you can see there. And the criteria are fairly rigorous. And so I would say that the most likely candidates for your for badging would be your capstone area candidates. If you're in career tech, a capstone course is the final course you take before you complete your pathway. And so I would urge, as I mentioned earlier, and we both mentioned, anyone can apply for a digital badge. But in terms of who is likely to earn a digital badge, it's going to be someone who has done the work, has spent some time learning, and is doing professional quality work. And so I would urge you, if you're an educator, not to have your intro students apply for digital badges, because it's sort of a recipe for, we don't want to see them, have their work rejected right off the bat. They should have gone through your program and be really, you need to think they are ready to enter the area. In the Q&A, one of the questions is, how do I know when I'm ready? And one of the response is, check with your teacher or mentor. And they will let you know if, they can look at the criteria along with you, and they can make a determination. So I would say that the badges are really for your capstone or advanced students, not for your introductory students.
But if you're a professional or, I think junior, like no matter what, it's also about observing your own work and reflecting, does that align with what's happening in the industry? And the way that you can do this is reverse understand what other people's work looks like. So if you're like, I want to be a viz dev artist at DreamWorks. So pick a movie, let's say Kung Fu Panda. You'll go on to IMDb, you'll look at all the artists, the viz dev artists that worked on it, and then go on Instagram or wherever they are, look at their drawings, look at their, they have the same exact job. They posting their work. That's the quality that needs to be there. That is your blueprint. That you have all the accessibility to, like, while we have words, we don't have a lot of visuals that showcase like what that leveling needs to be. If you take the time to research, like, okay, like I want to work at these studios, knowing that the recruiters most likely worked at most of those studios, or the people that are reviewing these badges, they're reviewing in the same light. Like, are they ready to work at that studio? Can they be placed on Kung Fu Panda? Are they ready for that? Do they have just like when I worked at Disney or anywhere else as a recruiter, if I'm looking at a portfolio, I'm looking to see, can I place that person into a position? Do they have the right skill set? Do they have the right shape language? Do they understand color? Whatever the position is, we're looking to see if it's up to snuff with what the industry would be if you're applying for a job. So you can easily, by researching it on the interwebs, kind of review an artist and then align that with your work. And if it's a 1-for-1, you're good to go. If you're like, oh, I should work on this a little bit more, I mean, the answers are all there.
And another question, a good question from our volunteer. There are certain certifications that can expire and you have to renew them every year. Is this one of those things where you have to come back in a couple years to get recertified?
No,
No.
nope. Once you got the badge, you got the badge, unless you wanted another badge.
Then you go through that process of submitting for that badge.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a limit to the amount of badges, industry professional badges you can get? Jack, you're
You're
muted.
muted.
Absolutely not. You can apply for any badge that you feel that you're qualified for. And I think that one of the things that I mentioned earlier, that California students, if you're enrolled in a CTE program or a pre-apprenticeship program, have 3 free digital badges. Now, that doesn't mean that you should submit for all 3 if you don't feel that you're qualified for all 3, but it does mean that if you've been in a comprehensive sequence of courses, so for example, if your CTE animation program is a 4-year program with a intro class, 2 concentration classes, and a capstone class, you may very well be qualified for more than 1 digital badge because you have studied character design, you've studied storyboarding, you've learned about writing and storytelling. And so it may in fact be that you are qualified for more than 1 badge. So you definitely can earn more than 1 badge. And I think a really high quality resume might have a string of digital badges across the top or in that award section. So you're encouraged to apply for as many as you feel like you're qualified for.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. We have a couple minutes left, so before we wrap up, Allison, Jack, do you have any last words of advice or things you'd like to share with our audience?
Well, I think explore the BRIC website. There's a lot of information on there under education that's going to be useful to you. But again, take a look at the digital badge link, because you're going to be able to use this in terms of certification, as we've talked at length about. You're also going to be able to use it in terms of curriculum design. Am I in fact teaching those things that my students need to know to be career ready? And you can also use it for job exploration. What are the jobs in this particular area, and what are the qualifications that I would need to have for those jobs? And so there are a lot of different ways that you can use digital badging besides having your students get a badge. So I encourage you to explore the website and have your students examine it as part of a curricular project. You might, one day you might have them just spend some time in a group on the website, explore it, and then share out the things that they learned and the questions that they have.
And I think I love that. And to piggyback, I think it's we're here to support. We want you to win. Like, this is why we myth bust. We give you the blueprint. Like, we want you in this industry, and we're just trying to figure out new ways to make it so. So this is one of those. So to Jack's point, please, like, use this, even if it's just as a resource. If you're not even applying for a badge, but you just want the blueprint, it's all here. It's all information for you. And then the badge is just the icing on the cake.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for all this wonderful information. As Jack said, there is more information on bricfoundation.org under education badges. We have pre-apprenticeship badge FAQs there as well as the regular digital badge, industry digital badge, frequently asked questions. And if you can't find the answer there, feel free to hit us up on contact@bricfoundation.org and we will get back to you with any questions you may have. Thank you again all for attending and hope you enjoy the rest of the summit, the virtual summit. And don't forget to hit that URL to give us feedback for a chance to win. Am I going to say it right? Wacom? Did I say it right?
Wacom.
Oh, Wacom. Intuos Pro Small. So thank you all again. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thanks a lot.